The street was empty, or at least it looked that way. I had my headphones in, still half, hearing the creepy sound effects from the horror game I'd been playing earlier. You know when you're so deep into a game that the real world feels like an extension of it. Yeah, that's exactly where my mind was. Every flicker of a streetlight, every rustle of leaves, it felt staged, like the game was bleeding into reality. At first, I laughed it off. I even said out loud, "Relax, it's just your brain messing with you." But the second I heard footsteps echoing behind me, my stomach dropped. They weren't in rhythm with mine, too heavy, too deliberate, and that's when I stopped. The silence that followed was worse than the sound itself. My breath clouded in the air, but behind me, nothing, no movement, no figure, just an empty stretch of road lit by a dying lamp post. I told myself, okay, maybe it's just in your head. But then I glanced at the row of houses nearby, and one of the windows had someone, or something, standing there, pale face, wide grin, completely still. I froze. My first instinct was to pull out my phone, maybe call someone, maybe pretend to text just so I felt less alone. But my hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped it, and when I looked back up, the figure in the window was gone. I wanted to sprint, just bolt down the road until I was back in the comfort of my house, but my legs wouldn't move. You ever get that paralyzed feeling where your body refuses to listen to your brain? That was me. My pulse was hammering so loudly in my ears, I thought maybe I was imagining everything. But then the footsteps returned, closer this time, louder, whoever or whatever it was, they weren't even trying to hide it anymore. I turned my head slowly, like peeling back a curtain you don't want to look behind, but again the street was empty. No figure, no shadow, nothing, and that's when I realized the sound wasn't coming from the pavement. It was coming from the grass, just off to the side. Someone was walking parallel to me, keeping pace, hidden in the dark. I tried to play it cool, pretended to yawn, pretended I didn't notice, but inside, my heart was sprinting a marathon. I whispered to myself, just keep walking, don't stop, don't let them know you see them. Every step I took, I swore I heard the faint crunch of grass beside me. And when I reached the corner, that's when it happened. The streetlight above me popped, shattering into darkness. I jumped, actually gasped out loud, and that's when I heard it, breathing, right next to me, slow, deep, and way too close for comfort. I didn't think, I ran. My bag bounced against my back. My phone nearly flew out of my hand, but I sprinted as if my life depended on it. And honestly, it felt like it did. I didn't even know where I was running to. My brain just said move. The whole time, I could hear those footsteps pounding after me, always just a few beats behind. Every time I risked a glance over my shoulder, I saw nothing. But I could feel it. The worst part, I knew the shortcut home was through the alley, a narrow, dimly lit alleyway that I swore I'd never use at night. But in that moment, it felt like my only chance. I darted in, my shoes slapping against the cracked pavement, the walls towering on either side of me. And for a second, just a second, I thought I lost them. The footsteps faded, the air felt still. I stopped, bent over, gasping for air, convincing myself maybe I was just paranoid. But then a voice, a whisper, right behind me, two words that made my blood run cold. Keep walking. My entire body locked up. I didn't turn around. I didn't even breathe for a few seconds. That whisper wasn't in my head. It was real, right behind me, so close I could almost feel the warmth of it brush against my ear. My legs moved on their own, slow, shaky steps forward. The alley felt endless, like the walls were closing in tighter with every stride. I kept repeating in my head, don't run, don't run, don't let it know you're scared. But inside, I was unraveling. I tried to glance at the ground, maybe catch a shadow. That's when I saw it. A second set of footsteps imprinted into the thin layer of dirt and dust along the pavement, appearing in perfect rhythm with mine. But there was nobody there, nothing casting them, just prints forming in real time beside me. I could barely hold back a scream. The whisper came again, this time with a chuckle. Almost home. I wanted to shout, wanted to demand, "Who are you?" But my throat was too tight to make a sound. Instead, I picked up my pace, speed walking like my life depended on it. Every instinct screamed at me to get out of that alley. I saw the dim glow of the streetlight at the end, and I thought, if I can just reach it, I'll be safe. That little circle of light felt like salvation. Halfway there, though, I heard something that stopped me cold. A dragging sound, like something heavy being pulled across the ground. It echoed through the alley, bouncing off the brick walls until I couldn't tell if it was in front of me or behind me. My mind flashed back to the game I'd been playing earlier, the one where if you hear dragging, you're already too late. My chest tightened, and for a split second I almost turned back, but no, forward. I had to move forward. As I edged closer to the light, my phone buzzed in my hand. Relief washed over me. Someone was calling, maybe a friend. Maybe this was my way out. I swiped the screen without looking and put it to my ear. Static, not a voice, just loud, distorted static that pierced into my skull. And underneath it, breathing, slow, steady, not mine. I yanked the phone away, my heart hammering, and that's when I saw the screen wasn't even lit up. My phone was off, dead. I panicked. I bolted the last few steps, bursting into the glow of the streetlight like I'd just broken the surface of water after nearly drowning. I spun around, searching, expecting, needing to see what was chasing me. The alley stretched behind me, dark and empty. No shadows, no figures, just silence. For a moment, I let myself believe it was over, that maybe I'd finally outrun whatever was happening. I stood there, hands on my knees, sucking in sharp breaths, trying to convince myself it was just leftover paranoia from gaming too late. But then I noticed something. The street I was on wasn't my street. The houses looked wrong, the trees taller, unfamiliar. It was like I had stepped into a different neighborhood entirely. My shortcut didn't lead me home. It led me somewhere else. And the worst part, at the end of this strange street, standing perfectly still under another flickering lamppost, was a figure. The same pale face, the same frozen grin I'd seen in that window before, and this time it was staring directly at me. I couldn't move. The figure was too far away for me to see clearly. But I didn't need details. Every instinct in my body screamed that it was wrong. Too still, too patient. It didn't shift, didn't sway, didn't even blink. Just stood there with that stretched grin plastered across its face, waiting. The more I stared, the more the world around me seemed to quiet down. No cars in the distance, no crickets, no wind. Just me and it. I told myself, don't give it the satisfaction, just walk. My legs felt like lead, but I forced them to move, each step heavier than the last. I kept my eyes locked on the ground, but curiosity burned through me. When I glanced up again, he was closer. Not by walking, not by moving. Just closer, like reality had skipped a frame. My chest tightened so badly I thought I'd pass out right there on the street. I tried to make sense of it. Maybe I was hallucinating, maybe I was asleep, maybe the game had just fried my brain. But then I blinked and the figure was gone, just gone. My heart leapt, but not in relief. If anything, the fear doubled. Because if it wasn't standing there anymore, where was it? I spun in every direction, scanning yards, rooftops, shadows, anywhere it could have gone. Nothing, and then out of nowhere, I heard the faintest laughter, a low, broken giggle that crawled along the edges of the street. It didn't sound like it came from one spot. It was everywhere, circling me. My instincts screamed to run, so I did. I sprinted down the road, darting between unfamiliar houses, my lungs burning as I searched desperately for some sign of home. A landmark, a familiar corner, anything, but every street looked the same, rows of houses with windows too dark, too silent, like they were all watching me. Halfway down the block, one of the porch lights flicked on. my chest filled with relief. Someone's awake. Someone can help me. I stumbled up the walkway, practically begging the universe to let this be a normal house with a normal family inside. I pounded on the door, shouting, "Please, open up. Someone's following me." At first, nothing. Then, slowly, the door creaked open. But instead of a person, I was met with darkness. No furniture, no pictures, no sound. Just an empty hallway stretching back into black. My voice caught in my throat. Every instinct screamed at me not to step inside, and yet the door kept opening wider, like it was inviting me in. Behind me, I heard the crunch of footsteps again, the grass, the same deliberate pace, closer and closer. My options were clear: go inside the dark house or face whatever was behind me. Neither felt like survival. The footsteps grew louder, heavier, until I swore I could feel the ground tremble. My hand gripped the edge of the doorframe. My brain split in two directions: stay outside and die, or go inside and risk something worse. I made my choice. I stepped over the threshold. The instant I did, the door slammed shut behind me. Total blackness swallowed me whole. I fumbled for my phone, desperate for even the dimmest glow. But when the screen lit up, I froze. It wasn't my lock screen. It wasn't my wallpaper. The display showed me in real time, standing in that exact hallway. Only there was someone standing right behind me. The sight on my phone almost made me drop it. There I was, framed perfectly in the hallway, holding my phone up like a mirror, but the figure behind me was wrong. It wasn't just standing there, it was leaning in. Its face hovered inches from my shoulder, pale skin stretched like wax, that grin wider than humanly possible. My blood turned to ice. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. The only thing I managed to do was whip my head around. Nothing, just the empty, black hallway, no one behind me, but when I looked back at the phone screen, it was still there. Smiling, breathing, and the worst part, its hand was raised, reaching for me. That broke me. I shoved the phone into my pocket and bolted deeper into the house. The floorboards groaned under every step, the air thick with dust, like nobody had lived here for decades. My breath echoed off the walls, too loud, too panicked. The hallway twisted and turned like a maze. Every door I passed locked tight. I yanked at handles, shoved at frames. Nothing budged. It was like the house itself was trapping me. And then the whisper came back, not behind me this time, above me. "You shouldn't have come in." I froze. My eyes flicked upward. The ceiling was cracked, the plaster peeling, but through the gaps I swore I saw movement, fingers curling, dragging along the wood. My body wanted to collapse, but adrenaline shoved me forward. I stumbled into the first open doorway I found, slamming it behind me, pressing my back to the wood as if that would keep it out. The room was wrong. It was a living room, but it looked exactly like the one in the game I had been playing earlier that night. Same couch, same old TV set, even the same broken lamp in the corner. My knees nearly buckled. This wasn't just fear anymore. It was déjà vu, like I'd stepped straight into the game itself. I edged toward the TV, which flickered with static even though it wasn't plugged in. My reflection wavered on the screen, but then it changed. My reflection smiled at me, not my smile. Its smile, wide, sharp, unnatural. I stumbled back, shaking my head, whispering, "No, no, no, this isn't real." But then the TV shut off, leaving me face with my own terrified expression in the black glass. That's when I heard the door creak open behind me, slow, deliberate. My stomach dropped. I hadn't touched it. My back was still pressed against it seconds ago. Something had opened it from the other side. I spun around, ready to confront whatever stepped in. But the doorway was empty, dark, silent. I took one step closer, trying to peer into the hall, when suddenly, slam. The door slammed shut in my face with enough force to rattle the walls. I screamed, spinning back toward the room, and that's when I saw it. The figure was no longer in the TV. It was standing in the corner of the room, perfectly still, perfectly smiling. I backed away, inch by inch, my breathing sharp and uneven. Its head tilted, cracking to the side like it was studying me, enjoying my fear. My body screamed for escape, but there was only one door, and it had just slammed shut. The figure took a step forward. One slow, echoing step, and then another, closer, closer, until it opened its mouth, but no sound came out. Only darkness. I couldn't breathe. The thing stood just feet away. Its mouth stretched open into an impossible void, swallowing the little light in the room. No sound came out, but I felt it. A pull, like the air itself, was being sucked toward it. My chest tightened as though something was trying to drag the breath right out of my lungs. My hands clutched my throat, desperate to hold on to even a shred of oxygen. I staggered backward, slamming into the wall. My vision blurred, black spots forming, but then just as suddenly, the pull stopped. Silence rushed back, heavy and suffocating. I gasped for air, collapsing to my knees, wheezing, clawing at the floor like a drowning man, finally breaking the surface. When I looked up again, the figure was gone, the room was empty, too empty, the static TV was dark, the lamp gone, the couch missing. It wasn't the living room anymore. The walls had shifted into something else concrete, cracked and wet. The air smelled of mildew, damp and rotten, like I had been dropped into the basement of some forgotten building. My stomach twisted. The game. This was another room from the game, the basement level, and if that was true, I knew what came next. In the game, this was where the entity hunted you, slowly, patiently, always one step ahead. My pulse hammered so hard I thought my ribs might crack. I whispered to myself, "This isn't real, this isn't real," but the sound of dripping water echoed down the hall, followed by the slow scrape of something dragging across the floor. Panic surged. I ran, not caring where, just anywhere away from that sound. My footsteps splashed into puddles, the corridor stretching far longer than any basement should. I felt walls narrowing, the ceiling pressing lower, until I was nearly crawling. And then, in the dim glow of my phone screen, I saw something ahead. A door, old, rusted, half broken, but a door, my only chance. I lunged forward, gripping the handle, wrenching it with everything I had. It wouldn't move. My breath came in shallow bursts as I pounded my fist against the wood. Behind me, the dragging grew louder. Closer, the sound of metal scraping against concrete. I spun around, phone trembling in my hand, the light barely cutting through the darkness. For a second there was nothing, just endless shadows, and then eyes, dozens of them, blinking open all at once, scattered along the walls, the floor, even the ceiling. Wide, unblinking eyes staring directly at me. My legs nearly gave out. I fumbled at the door again, whispering, "Please, please, open." The dragging stopped. Silence, and then, from the sea of eyes, a voice echoed, low, guttural, but clear, "You can't leave." The door burst open on its own, slamming against the wall so hard the sound echoed through the hall. I didn't hesitate. I dove through, slamming it behind me. My chest heaved, my throat raw, but for a moment I thought maybe, just maybe, I had escaped. Until I looked up, I was standing in my own bedroom, my bed, my desk, my posters on the wall, home. Relief flooded me for half a heartbeat until I saw the mirror across the room, and in that mirror, I wasn't alone. My reflection didn't match me. I was standing there, trembling, gasping for air, but the version in the mirror, it was calm. Too calm, shoulders straight, head tilted, and yes, that same twisted grin. My stomach dropped. I took one shaky step closer, and the reflection took a step forward too. Not delayed, not mirrored, like it was moving on its own. I whispered, "No, no, no, this isn't real." My voice cracked, but the reflection's grin only widened. And then it raised its hand slowly, smoothly, and pressed its palm against the glass. My body refused to move. I watched as a hairline crack formed where its hand touched, spreading across the mirror like a spiderweb. The sound was sharp, shrill, filling the room. I stumbled back, clutching my ears, but the cracks kept spreading, faster and faster, until the entire surface shattered silently. The glass didn't fall to the floor. Instead, it melted away into darkness, leaving only a gaping black void. And out of that void, a pale arm began to crawl, thin, bony fingers clawing the edge of the mirror, pulling itself through. I screamed, sprinting for the door, slamming into it with all my weight. Locked, my own bedroom door locked from the outside. The scratching behind me grew louder as the thing pulled itself free. I pounded, shouted, begged, but nobody came. No neighbors, no family, no one, just me, trapped with it. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. Desperate, I yanked it out, praying for a signal. But the screen lit up with only one thing, a live feed of me, in this exact room, the camera panning slowly toward the figure climbing out of the mirror. I dropped the phone, my chest seized with terror, tears welling as I spun around only to find the mirror empty. No figure, nothing. The room was normal again, my bed untouched, my desk the same, everything perfectly in place. Like nothing had happened, I collapsed onto the floor, shaking so hard I could barely breathe. My phone buzzed one last time. Against every instinct, I picked it up. One new message, just 3 words, check your window. My blood ran cold. I turned, slowly, praying it was a sick joke, praying nothing would be there, but when my eyes hit the glass, my stomach dropped into nothing. Because staring back at me, pressed against the other side of the window, was that same pale face, grinning. Watching, waiting, I screamed, and the screen cut to black, and that's when I realized maybe I never walked home that night at all. So yeah, it's safe to say, I'm never walking home alone after gaming again, and if you're watching this at night, maybe you shouldn't either. Sleep tight.